welcome back to the Gamerpreneur podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Bradford Carlton. Today, we are talking about how the waiting is the hardest part. And, with full respects to the philosopher Petty, that is some of the greatest advice that I think I've ever received when it comes to business. Because, I'm the kind of person who I'm like, work. I love to just get down and dirty. I love to just dive into a project. I love to just get totally focused on it. But there always comes a point where it's time to launch, or where it's time to rely on somebody else, where it's time to, have your partner do their thing and you're out, there's nothing to do. And it's in those moments that we really are tested, because those of us who just are diehard workaholics, the ones who are micromanagers, the people who have to be control freaks and touch every little aspect of a project, it's at those moments that we realize we're powerless. It's a little bit scary. And waiting really is this hard thing to do, because you're like, well, what if I did this? Or what if I did that? And the answer always comes back. There's no point. There's no reason. That's just not going to help. At this point, you got to sit down and wait. And so at the moment, I'm currently in that. One of the businesses I just started up, it's kind of in that phase where I did my part. I worked my tail off for a whole week, and it's time to launch. And that's not my thing to do, right? I sit there and I wait, and I'm waiting for everybody. I'm like, please do your jobs properly. Please do your jobs properly. And I'm just sitting there waiting, oh, please. And there's not much to do but pray and hope. And, this is a common theme that people will find in their business, in their brand, in their, whatever it is you're doing. There comes a point where you just kind of have to go with it. You have to sit down and just be willing to accept what happens. I mean, if you think of anybody who streams, right? Anybody who does live streaming, they can get their overlay right. They can do their marketing. They can get their backgrounds all ready. They can practice the game until they're blue in the face. But when they hit that live button, they're there. And they kind of have to wait until they're done with their session before they can really work on it again. You're not able to work on your stream while you're live, right? While you're doing the content, it's not time to be going out and doing the marketing or making your overlay look better. It's time to just perform. And so you kind of have to, if you get no viewers, you're sitting there and you got no viewers, maybe one viewer, and you're just sitting there man, I know what I need to improve. I know what I need to improve, but I'm not able to do it yet. And, if you're in a business and, it's project-based and you hand off your portion and you're like, man, I know they're working on it. I know it's happening. I wish I could make go faster. This is just one of those things that we got to get used to. And you're going to sit there and you grind your teeth. You're going to gnash and gnaw and wish I did this or I said that, or calm down. There's not much you can do. I mean, there might be something you can do. You might be able to offer a helpful suggestion. Just don't be too pushy about it. There are things in this world that just mean a lot to people. And, just real quick, I don't know why I was reminded of this story, but it fits here. Years and years and years ago, I was at, I think J.C. Penney's. My wife was getting some clothes, and she was in the changing room, and I'm sitting there on a bench, and an old guy is sitting next to me, and I go, oh, what are you here for, sir? And he's like, my wife is here. And he was, do you know how long I've been married? I'm like, no, how long have you been married? He's like, 75 years. I'm like, wow, that's a really long time. And I'd only been married for a month at that point. And so I'm like, do you have any advice? You've been married for so long. What advice do you have? And his advice was, don't try to change her. Do not try to change your partner. Your partner is your partner. That's the person you go into business with. It's the person that you create that relationship with. You cannot change your partner. The only person on the planet who can change your partner is your partner, and they have to decide that they want it. If you are sitting there and you're pushing and you're needling and you're like, you should do it this way, you need to do it that way, you do it this way. If you don't do it this way, it's not going to work out. And you just pester them the whole time. That creates a horrible relationship. They're not going to like you. They're probably not going to do what you say anyway. And they're going to tell you to just go away and stop bothering them. And you're going to feel like you're not being heard. And you need to take a deep breath. And like I said, just calm down. The hardest part of any project, of any business, is that waiting aspect, that part where you just have to be patient. Because entrepreneurs, as gamerpreneurs, we don't like being patient. We like just going for it. If you're in a game I played World of Warcraft for years and years, right? When I do nothing but game in World of Warcraft, I'm waiting for the raid to start or a dungeon to start, I'm probably not just running in circles. I'm probably out there grinding, doing something, trying to advance myself, even just a little bit. And you may not be able to work on the project any longer, that your part may be done. The business may be ready to go. It may be in its final phases of doing its thing. And you just have to sit back and let the algorithm do whatever. It doesn't mean that you can't go and find some way to improve yourself. Go read a book, go study, I haven't seen them enough, right? There are other things that you can do to improve yourself and possibly the business as a whole without actually working on the business in those situations. It takes a lot of self-control on your part to get through this. It happens monthly on my part. I'm usually launching something, or I have some team doing something. I'm like, come on, I hope you guys do it right, please. All right. So take a deep breath. Understand the waiting is the hardest part. And I'll remind you all, organization is the enemy of sloth. It's much easier to get through these time periods if you have a list of things to do. You know that you can do. That's not even dependent on the project or the business or the thing that you're working on. What's the honey-do list you got to get done around your house? Or if you have children, how can you help serve them or care for them? Or your friends, have you talked to them in a while? What your family, who else can you serve? Who else can you work with? Have a list of those people that when I finally get time, I'll make sure I reach back out to them. Well, now's a good time as any, right? Or if you got a backlog of games, figure out what it is. Don't just sit there and mindlessly meander around the room, like calling out and barking out orders to people who don't need that right now. So figure out what it is in advance. That way, when these situations arise, you're less stressed. You already know what you're going to work on. You kind of already have a game plan. It takes a lot of the pressure off of you. It takes the pressure off of everybody else, knowing you're not going to be breathing down their shoulder. Lots more fun that can happen in any business that does that. All right, everybody. Don't be just a gamer. Be a gamerpreneur.